Welcome back to the Street Photography Magazine. I'm Bob Patterson, publisher of Street Photography Magazine, your host today. And we've got a guest with us from almost the other side of the planet. He's actually in Switzerland, and it's Michael Eugster. He's been a follower of our podcast for quite a while in the magazine, and I've seen his work many times in various contests that I've judged. So it's pretty cool to have him on here to talk about this stuff. And he's also a very prolific writer. He's on Substack, which is sort of how we connected, and I'm glad. So we finally got together after a little bit of a kerfuffle during Thanksgiving week. By the way, I'm sick. You probably noticed if you listen to any other shows. I'm just getting over a bad cold that's been around for a while. So you get to be my guinea pig. So just let me know if you don't understand what I'm saying. And he's just nodding. You can
All
talk.
right, Bob.
Yeah. But anyway, so welcome, Michael. It's a real pleasure to have you here. And, thanks for taking the time to be with us.
The pleasure is absolutely mine. It's an honor to be on your show. Thanks for the invitation and more than happy to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just, I'll tell you why he's here. Michael's like I said, he's a prolific writer. He is a regular writer on Substack. Unlike some people on Substack, meaning us, we don't publish enough on there. We need to do more, because it is an excellent platform. But you're very consistent. And he wrote an article a few weeks ago about his favorite podcasts, and we're one of them. And we were on there with some excellent company, a Barrynex for one, who happens to be my favorite podcaster, and several others. So, and Substack, like any good social media platform, let me know that this guy wrote a story about us. Well, kind of. And I'm sure the other people on there received a message as well, if they're on Substack, which they probably should be. Great photography community, by the way. And they're not paying me to say this. So anyway, so Michael, all right, I'm done rambling. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into street photography, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Bob. So yeah, what got me to street photography? To be honest, I was taking pictures for a long time, like holiday pictures with kind of a normal camera, DSLR camera in the past. I don't know, 10, 20 years, but I had no clue what I was doing. So I was really on auto mode, and taking some shots. Probably was lucky when a shot was good. And I really tried for a long time to kind of practice the technical aspects of it, to get to know the technical aspect, ISO and shutter speed and all that stuff. But I just couldn't memorize that. I was not able to know it next time when I took the camera back in my hand. So that was going on for a very long time. And then suddenly it kind of clicked. There was one vacation. I think it was end of 2019, during a vacation when I was taking pictures of my family, came home and realized that there is more. And I kind of gained interest and started to read a lot about photography. And then during 2020, the year, I think I was really exploring different type of photography, a little bit landscape stuff. Of course, Switzerland is super nice for landscape. You have a lot of nice nature sceneries, mountains. So that was nice. But I still felt it's not really what I want to do. It gives me joy, but I was looking for something different. And I went out to the city of Zurich, where I live, took like urban pictures of the city life, more probably the buildings first. Then suddenly people came into the pictures and realized that, this is definitely a more interesting element, and was really drawn to like putting people into the center of the pictures. I would say end of 2020, I found myself at opening up the door of street photography and started then, of course, immediately soaking up everything what's out there, watching YouTube videos. I wanted to know everything about street photography. Was listening to podcasts. Of course, I was appreciating also your stuff because
Cool.
I, of course, learned so much when I was listening to podcasts, listening to other street photographers, experienced street photographers. reading books, looking at pictures. I mean, just really soaking up everything what's out there. And of course, going out as much as possible. And we were talking about it before we started recording. I was then in a corporate job, so I wasn't able to go out that frequently or as much as I wanted to. So I also then over time changed a bit my professional life. So I'm right now able to really go out on a daily basis and just obsessively do what I love and what brought me here to that particular point where I am right now.
Is there, was there any particular moment or like a shoot you were doing one day or a photograph that just made the light bulb go off on your head, and you knew this is what you really wanted to do photographically, or was it more of a gradual thing?
No, I don't think it was a one-time event or a specific picture or something like that. I think it was really more gradually, but still believe it was a very fast, gradually thing. I pretty much within a very short time frame realized, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I think that's a little bit my personality also with other things in my
Mhm.
life. I do something intensively. I'm 120% in, and I really want to do it very good. I want to do it very intense. I want to know everything. It was gradually, but pretty quickly became probably the most important, next to my family, of course, and kids and
Sure.
wife. Most important thing in my life.
Yeah, that's, great. Well, I mean, it shows in your work, that's for sure, and I see you do a lot of contests as well. Some people
Hmm.
don't do any, some really get into it, and you've been in several that I've judged, and which was kinda cool, and I did see that you were in the one in Hania on Crete in 2023, and did you go there for the festival?
No, no,
No,
unfortunately
you
not.
didn't? I was there. Well, I was in
But
Athens. Huh? Go ahead.
I think we missed each other in Dublin. Were you there in May or the previous year?
Oh, I never went.
You never went. Oh,
I
okay. I
really
thought
yeah, I
maybe.
wanted to. We usually take one big trip a year, my wife and
Hmm.
me, and I don't think she would be unhappy if I flew off to these festivals 'cause I really wanna do it.
Hmm.
I did do it
Hmm.
once. I went to Miami, which was nice,
Yeah.
but no, we didn't. But it was funny because I was in Athens the week of the festival in Hania, and then I was there. We were on a Mediterranean cruise that left out of Athens, and we were actually in Crete twice. And I go, wow, I really get to go to this place. To me, it was like some, this exotic thing.
Hmm.
I'm from the hills of Southern Ohio. We never did stuff like that. And, so I got to go there, but it was a week after it was over. All the stuff was gone, which was
Yeah.
too bad. I was hoping the photos would still be up. Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk
I
about
think,
you.
yeah, no, I think it's a good idea, what you mentioned before, taking your wife with, because what I did, I mean, I was in May, I was in Dublin and for myself, and then in September there was Lisbon, and
Yeah.
I was finalist there. I was super happy to be finalist there, and when I got the message about being finalist, I decided to go because of course then you have a certain kind of, you can see your picture and that's super nice. And I
Yeah.
asked my wife, hey, do you come with me? So let's go together to Lisbon. And so we went together. It was really nice to, on one hand, of course, when I go to a festival or on a photo trip, I like to be on my own and I like to be in focused on my thing.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, this time in Lisbon, it was nice to show her a little bit, the world we live in, and the street photography things we talk about, to show her a bit how a festival looks like and what the people are, introducing her to certain people. And she was really amazed, and I think it was super nice for me and for her to kind of see that together.
You meet the coolest people in this little world of ours. I mean, I've only met maybe two big assholes. See, I'm going to say that. I don't normally say that. I met a couple major jerks, and that's it. Everybody else is just, helpful and nice and, they're supportive, and that's why I love it, really, the people. And the photography is great too, most of the time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that's probably the reason why I'm actually participating in these contests. So, of course, on one hand, there are of course certain reasons you would like to compete. Look how you picture compete against others. Maybe you are seeking for a little bit recognition as well. But and I think that's really one of the major points. What you just mentioned is the people. So
Yeah.
really the good contests where there's a festival behind, where there's a crew building up a lot of different elements during a couple days, like speeches, like photo walks, like an exhibition.
Yeah.
It's about then probably going there and meet the people and get into contact and get to know each other and having exchange. And there, as you said, so many nice people. It was every time I was at such a festival, it was just wonderful couple days with wonderful interactions with great people.
Yeah. You're lucky you're, right in the middle of Europe where there's so many
Mm.
excellent festivals. So you're not far away. Coming from here, if you gotta get on a plane and fly for whatever, depending where we're going, 8 hours, 9 hours. Is there any one festival that really sticks out in your mind as really made a big difference in your photography or your life in general?
I think I wasn't to that many, to be honest. I was twice in Dublin, and there were only two festivals in Dublin so far. And I know the guys organizing the Dublin festival by now pretty well. They're such amazing people,
Yeah.
really doing a great job. And I was lucky to be twice finalist. So definitely Dublin would be the just based on these reasons. But also, as said, Lisbon was super nice as well.
Yeah, where did they hold the festival in Lisbon?
It was in the very city center in the old town at the University of Arts.
Okay.
Um, Very nice location, very historic place, very beautiful.
Yeah, I'd love to go back to Lisbon. That could be a good reason to do that.
Hmm.
So you were, I was pleased to see in your Substack that you recently interviewed Paul Kessel, who's
Hmm.
one of my one of my favorites, and you spotted his photo on the wall. I have a copy of his Q train, which sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice here. Anyway, anyhow, I'm going to connect this to Paul in a second because you describe street photography as a form of meditation, and you talk about being completely in the moment. Not
Hmm.
thinking about work or everyday life. That's hard to do. Especially those of us who have a little bit of ADD maybe. And but then I saw you interviewed Paul, and I read the interview, and I knew he in his younger days was a competitive golfer. And he made a comment in there, which I found personally very helpful, and not just in photography, but like competitive sports in general. And when he played golf, he said, and he compared it on the street. And we've talked about this because we compare street photography to golf. He said he does the best in either pursuit when he's not trying. He just lets it happen, and that's kind of a Zen moment, I guess. And I just wondered, how do you notice when you shift from not trying to trying? I know in sports that happens a lot, like I myself, I like to play pickleball. That's a big thing over here now. I don't know if you guys are doing it. And if I don't care and I'm not trying to do anything, I do a lot better. My teammate likes me. Then I start somehow something shifts and I find myself pressing and trying and everything goes to hell. And in golf, yes, I grew up playing golf and never got really good at it. Probably for that reason. I just discovered this like last week,
Hmm.
what Paul said. Anyway, let me ask you, do you ever find yourself trying to force it? And how do you overcome that? Do you
Hmm.
have any techniques
Hmm.
or something you don't even think about?
I think I'm fully with you. I think I see it in a similar way. Trying hard, and that already starts at home. If you go out and you start thinking, okay, today I want to maybe even want to go this particular route, or I want to achieve this particular type of pictures. For me, it probably wouldn't work. I really need to go out with the kind of a clear mind, expectation, and just start. And then next to that, I think I also probably receive the best results if I'm on my own.
Oh, yeah.
Really just no focus on other things, not too much thinking about other things, because as soon as I have something in mind, whether that's like a private issue I'm thinking all the time, or if I'm with someone else walking, sometimes it happens that I walk with a friend or my wife in the city and I still have my camera with me. It's still not the same thing. It's I might be lucky and see something, but if I'm alone on myself in that particular kind of zone thing and not expecting anything, just walking, observing, being curious, looking, walking, repeat, all that. I think then the best results come up, and most of the time there's of course nothing happen, even if you are completely, your mind is focusing on photography and no expectation. But sometimes you get lucky, or maybe like my antenna is then much like more activated than when I'm with someone else or when I have something in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, you wrote an article in your Substack about making connections and had a number of excellent photographs to go with that. And it's really easy to miss things. You know, when you're out there, all this stuff is happening all over the place, changes constantly, as you know. How do you like focus on looking for connections, or you're just like an open book and you
Mhm.
just let them come and you recognize it when it happens? Again, that probably gets back to trying again.
Yeah. Hey, first of all, you're probably talking about like all these topics. I have different series I'm working on, specific topics I'm looking for, and I have them in the back of my head, of course, but I'm not kind of actively looking for those things.
Yeah.
Still, if they pop up, I realize, like I have one series about eyes. So whenever I see an eye printed somewhere or a tattoo of an eye or whatever, I
Mhm.
realize, eye, okay, take a picture. But I'm not
Huh.
walking through the city and looking for eyes. You know what I mean? So in the back of my head, all these different topics I have really a lot of them, but I really try to be, as I said before, I try to be probably as neutral, as open as possible, and just observe, just observe as good as I can, and be awake, soak up everything you see, be alert, and you never know what. And I think that's the beauty of street photography, that you don't know what the next picture will be. So you have absolutely no chance to imagine what can happen, and that's the nice thing, right? You get surprised every time you press the shutter, because there is a gesture, there is an emotion, and it happens so quickly. And I missed those moments all the
Of
time,
course.
of course,
Yeah,
because things
everybody does.
happen so fast. And I still believe I'm pretty fast at the moment, or by now, but I still miss a lot of situations, because there's and if you are really focusing, or you're in that kind of in the zone thing and being 100% focused on what's happening on the street, you start realizing everything around you. And of course, you miss things, but you still also get sometimes the interesting little details.
Do you ever notice that most of the photos you wind up keeping come towards the end of a day of shooting as opposed
Mhm.
to, it's like the one more shot thing. Okay, I'm done. Well,
Mhm.
maybe I'll get one more.
Yeah, it's
Does
it's a
does that
funny.
happen to you?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Of course, I heard also other people talking about that. But sometimes it even happens that I went out, and maybe not the first, but like one of the first 5 pictures, it was the shot of the day. And then
Uh,
for the next 3 hours, nothing happened.
yeah, yeah.
And but to be honest, I'm not really a believer of that kind of theory. I still agree and think if you should always be out as long as possible because it can happen anytime, right?
Yeah.
So if I what I often do is after a couple hours shooting and I'm tired, I would like to go home. I say to myself, okay, let's one more turn, one more half an hour. Maybe you get rewarded, and of course, most of the time nothing happens, but sometimes, yeah. But wouldn't say it happens regularly.
Yeah.
That in the very last moment, the shot.
Well, the worst thing that happens is you get a few more steps. That's
Right,
always a
exactly.
good thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. Do you have like a routine before you go? You always have the same camera settings, you're all ready, or like an athlete's going to go do stretches. Do you have any mental exercises you do? Oh,
Mhm.
sorry, I'm fading out on you. You guys have to put up with me with this cold because we're gonna keep talking. Yeah,
No worries, no worries. So first of all, setting's always the same, but other than that, and of course the routes in the city center is more or less always the same, like the same streets, the same corners. Zurich is not that big, so it's obviously like the city center, and you need to
yeah,
be in certain streets where life is happening, so you don't have a lot of options compared to like the big cities on our planet. So there is a certain routine in regards where I walk, where I expect also maybe potential good pictures or interesting situations. But other than that, I also heard a lot of people talking about like taking couple shots until you warm up. I also don't
yeah,
have that kind of approach, or as I said, it could be the first picture that happened to me already. First, I don't know, one or the second or third picture is already a good one. So I don't need to kind of warm up.
yeah, yeah. You mentioned that over the last 10 years or so, your work has become more local. I think that was the term. So tell us about like your relationship with your city,
Mhm.
city center. How is that like your knowledge of where to go and what to do, or your feelings for that, how has that deepened through paying such close attention to it? Because I believe you used to travel a lot more when you first street photography, right? But now you do more close to home. I mean, how has that made a difference in your work?
Yeah, I think it has a huge impact on how I see my city because I mean I walk the city really on a daily basis, or at least 6 times a week I'm out shooting. I know the city center of Zurich inside out. At least those streets I'm walking, and that also gets super interesting because you start seeing all little details. Even if there is, I don't know, maybe like a window cracked, you immediately realize, oh, yesterday it wasn't cracked. Today it's cracked. And so I have really a kind of a very deep, close connection to the city center, to the city itself. Also seeing people again and again. So there are people I recognize from time to time, people who are out in the city based on because of their job or whatever. So there are a lot of different elements, where you start realizing that, yeah, it's different than if you go to the city center just on a weekend. That's one thing. On the other hand, of course, it also can get a bit boring from time to time because it's always the same. It's always the same routes. And that's where then travel comes into play. So when I go to other locations, other cities, I really much enjoy being somewhere else and exploring the kind of new things, the bigger cities, where more is happening, more craziness. I mean, Switzerland is super nice, but things are pretty settled, pretty organized. Everything is proper, clean. That's nice, but sometimes I also like if it's a bit the opposite, and if a city looks different.
If you had a choice, someone said, okay, here's a plane ticket, you can go wherever you want, hotel, where would that be for
Yeah. So
photography by
yeah.
yourself?
So it's probably a boring answer, but I pick New York because
Yeah.
I was last year, or let's say in the past 12 months, I was 4 times in New York
Okay.
just to take pictures, and I really have the intent to keep going on a at least twice a year, just because I really felt in love with the vibe of the city, taking pictures there. I feel a kind of a connection to New York. I enjoy extremely making pictures there. I'm also pretty happy with the results. Of course, it's probably a little bit, let's say, easier, more rewarding than in Zurich, because just more happening, more crazy stuff. And I don't know, so that's definitely where I would take the plane ticket, because I will go back probably in spring again. Yeah, that's my destination for the moment, and who knows what it will be in the future. But
So what part of New York? Your next trip, if you can only go to one neighborhood?
again,
That's the hard part.
boring answer. It's like Manhattan, Midtown, and the classic, like
Yeah, well, that's not so boring.
usual suspect corners and streets.
Yeah, yeah, good choice. Yeah, that's a very good choice.
So you go probably regularly to New York,
I wish
or
I did. You know what? I can hop on a train. We only have like 2 a day, 2 trains a day in our little town. I can be in New York in about 5 hours by train. I can drive there in anywhere from 5 hours to 20, depending on the I was exaggerating on the 20, but the traffic, it's the worst traffic in the country between Washington, DC and New York. And, but yeah, I can be there. I have yet to go there since I've moved here. Yeah, when I lived in Cleveland, I was there a fair amount, but that was, a drive wise, it's like 10 hours or something. But, flying's a kind of a pain. It's costs a fortune to get into town from LaGuardia or whatever. So, yeah, so unfortunately I don't. And I thought I
Mm.
was going to do it a lot. So maybe if you're there in the spring, maybe I'll go up and meet you.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to Japan this year. So that's going to eat up a lot of time and money, but I got to get up there.
Yeah, also good idea
Or
as
you
well.
go to Washington, DC instead.
Hmm.
I don't live far from there. It's not nearly as interesting. I'll tell you that. I like it. I like going there. It's our closest big city, but it's no New York, that's for sure. I did want to ask you about this. So you're drawn to these small, inconspicuous moments that we overlook every day. So, what are these moments? First of all, noticing these moments is hard. Uh, to me, this is the hardest form of photography there is. But these moments, what do they tell you about life in our world or life in your world? Than the more obvious dramatic scenes, maybe people getting into a fist fight in the middle of Times Square. But then there's those little moments. I'm looking at a part of a photo on my screen just below you, and it was one of those connections you made. It's a photograph of an old woman in the middle of the street with a yellow line in the middle of the street, and her crutch is yellow.
Hmm.
That is in parallel
Hmm.
to the yellow line. I mean, little stuff like that. But what is it about these things
Hmm. Hmm.
that speak to you other than the big one, a car crash,
Hmm.
people jumping off a building, I don't know, whatever it is, big stuff. And that's where, the details in these type of photographs are what makes them so interesting. And the fact that you noticed it in the first place and made a good composition of it on the fly. So what do these do for you?
Yeah, well, I think, as you said, the big things, the interesting pictures with a lot of people, layers, complex situations. Of course, that's
Yeah.
super nice. That's what we all want to achieve or
Yeah.
find, but it doesn't happen that often, right?
Yeah.
So what I need something in between. Those like super interesting pictures happen. And when I'm walking, I try to focus on like these little details. On one hand, to just stay curious, to have a task, to practice, but also to collect. I think at the end, for me, street photography has a lot to do also with collecting moments, collecting situations, collecting details, training your eye. Um, And I think there's no better exercise than having like these little tasks in your head. For example, matching colors, or as I said, an eye, or anything to do with ice cream. Last winter, I started collecting gloves. So people lose their gloves often in wintertime.
Yeah.
So they're lying everywhere. And of course, during winter, you find then quickly hundreds of gloves lying on the floor, but you need to look for them, or look for interesting like shoes or feet on the ground, whatever. So there are hundreds of different topics, and it's a training, it's a collection. It's just fun to do.
I like a quote from you. You say, "Observe, collect, and refine."
Hmm.
I like that. Nice and simple. When, do you find a lot of moments that you photographed and had forgotten about? And then when you refining, I assume, is editing and post-processing. Do you
Hmm.
find a lot of things that you photographed that you didn't realize were quite good at the time?
Hmm. Hmm. It happens from time to time. I'm a strong believer of the theory of going back to your archive and looking at pictures
Yeah,
with a bit distance, emotional distance. Also, I don't know, looking at the pictures with a bit different eyes, and then you start maybe seeing some pictures in a different perspective,
yeah.
realizing that there is maybe something interesting what you haven't seen before, or you just missed something. So yeah, I definitely believe that at least I should do that or I do it on a regular basis, and it's so important to go back into the archive. Maybe also wait, like the world we're living in these days with posting a lot of pictures immediately. And I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do. And
Ugh,
sometimes I do it, of course, as well, but I really try hard and try to push myself, keeping things back, letting things maybe grow a bit, or making sure that there is a certain distance from a time
mhm.
perspective until I judge a picture of mine, and finding out finding out if it's worth like showing to the public or not, and not immediately like throwing out everything.
So you've been doing this for what, 15 years now?
No,
Maybe
no, no,
longer?
no, 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 no. No, no. I'm doing it for like street photography, really street photography. I would say like 4 years.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
started seriously taking
Impressive.
pictures 5 years ago, maybe. And before it was like holiday pictures, nothing really
Oh,
had nothing to do with photography.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, we all evolve, and,
yeah,
it takes a while to figure out what your thing is, but
yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I really wish that I have started earlier in life, but I mean, of course, things are how they are.
yeah.
But imagine then what I would be able to collect and find and taking pictures if I took street photography for the past 15 years. But it's how it is, and happy to be here where I am.
Back to Paul Kessel one more time. Paul, I hope you're listening to this because we're getting a lot out of your experience.
Definitely.
As we said, Paul said he was a competitive golfer, and that means he has to be really good. And I don't know if he told you about this thing called the swing thought.
Hmm.
Swing thought in golf is there's something you think about as you're swinging the club.
Hmm.
Not 20 things, one thing, and it probably depends on the kind of shot you're hitting. Generally, it's make sure I'm looking at the ball when the club strikes it. That's a swing thought. Look at the ball.
Yeah,
There's lots of them. I think that applies to street photography as well.
yeah, definitely.
So what's your swing thought? Maybe you've always got this in mind when you're out there, or maybe you're an
Um,
empty font.
Yeah. So first of all, I actually I know what you're talking about because I played golf as well when I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so my family went to California for 1 year when I was a kid because my father had
Oh,
to work there. And in Europe back then, so that was beginning of 90s, golf wasn't really a sport. At least a lot of people did. So when we were in California, of course, we started golfing, and then I played for a couple of years golf at home as a kid, but I then stopped. So maybe one day I
me
will start
too.
again. So back to your question. back to your question, I think as Paul said, I try to not think too much. I
Yeah,
really try
that's
to I really try to react, try to react on what's happening, what resonates with me. I'm also probably, to be honest, I think about that from time to time, if I'm consciously pressing the shutter, or is it really more a kind of a reaction because something talks to me, something is kind of I'm drawn to a certain like situation or
mhm.
gesture or emotion. It just happened, to be honest. It's difficult to explain, I think. It's difficult to explain. It just happened, you know.
I think you're lucky. You're lucky. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to keep a clear head, especially when you're out in public. There's so many things happening.
Mm,
You know, you did make a heard you made a comment. You said you'd take about 300 shots when you're out on the street, and you only
mhm.
get 1 or 2 that are worth it. That's a pretty high return. I talk to a lot of people who do this. I've been doing it for 13, 14 years now. Uh, that's a pretty high return, so don't beat yourself up over it. Look at Ansel Adams, I think he was happy if he got, like, 2 or 3 in a year or so, and look what he had to go through.
Mm, mm.
Yeah,
Well, I think in yeah, I think in average it's like 300 pictures a week, I would say.
yeah,
But a really good one, like the ones on my website, I don't know, I think it's maybe a handful per year,
yeah,
max 2, 3, 4 per year.
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's how it is.
Yeah,
I think it's an important factor of or indication what your expectations are in regards of quality of pictures. Of course, everyone can have own expectations and set your own bar, but that's a bit how I see it.
and one more thing I wanna ask you about before we go is, your Substack.
Hmm.
Personally, I like the way you use it, and it's like any other social media, can be overwhelming and can eat up a lot of your own time. I mean, I just want to know, how what caused you to get into it,
Hmm.
and what's it doing for you personally as a photographer and communicator, and what you plan to do in the future.
Okay.
I'm struggling with that myself. We've been on it for a while. We started putting our newsletter on there, and I'm trying to think, what else can we do with this? There's a podcaster in the political world that I really like, and I started following his Substack, and he has like a team of people. And after a while, I just got so many messages, like just constantly. I That's all I would do. If I was, like, reading all these things and doing that, I thought, "Gee, I don't wanna do that to people." Anyway, so just tell us about it.
Hmm.
A lot of people are jumping into it. It's been around for quite a while, and I think it's got an excellent photography community.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you. Where you have said at the beginning that you like my articles, but to be clear, I'm doing that only since I think I started in July.
Yeah, it's new, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty new. And so first of all, I never thought about writing a blog. It was really probably a bit more getting there by accident. So, oh, there's Substack, heard about it. Why not trying it out? So what's the reason? I think the reason is on one hand, personally, just for myself to throw out what I'm thinking, what's in my brain, my head about street photography and bringing that to paper or into words. I think that's something I really enjoy doing. And then secondly, what I also believe is giving something back to the community. Hopefully the community is interested, but giving something back to the community, I think, is a very important element because I was also and still am in appreciating content. So I'm appreciating what you are doing, for
Mm.
example, so that you're producing interesting content for the community, so that we all gain knowledge, that we exchange each other, that we get to know people, whether that's podcast, whether that's YouTube, whether that's a book, whatever. And I learned a lot. I learned everything I know from these kind of media forms. So I think it's worth giving something back, and also investing a bit of my time writing down things or helping other people getting certain information. So I think that's another aspect, giving something to the community. It's fun to do. Of course, at the very beginning, I thought about, okay, I need to do that very seriously. I need to have a plan when I'm posting what, and made a list of topics. And of course, I started then, and the first 2 months, I was probably following my list and was on schedule. But in the past, like 3, 4 months, I'm just doing it, whatever comes to my mind, what I feel is right. And I think it feels more natural now. It feels the right way to do it. There are certain aspects I want to do on a regular basis, like the interview with Paul Kessel.
Yeah, that was
I
nice.
did, yeah, exactly. Thomas Hackenberg, he was my
Oh,
first
really?
guest. Yeah, so that's something I want to do on a regular basis, having these interviews, and that's for me a clear thing, or an example of giving something back to the audience or the community with these interviews, or of course also sharing my work to a certain extent. So there are different reasons, and it's a lot of fun. I didn't expect, to be honest, that's much fun, at least at the moment. Who knows? Maybe in a half year or a year, I lose interest, but at the moment, it's interesting. It's a good community, as you said. I also like the fact that Substack is it's a little bit different to the other social media
Yeah.
platforms, especially compared to the platform we are all on, Instagram. I think Substack is much slower. You need time. You need to invest
Yeah.
time to read something. You need to be ready to
Mm.
invest the time. Um, and if you create something, and if people read your content and they comment on your content, they usually comment not just like the on Insta
Yeah.
style, nice shot,
Yes.
thumbs up. Exactly, exactly. They comment with 2, 3, 4 sentence, like it's a nice article. I was interested to hear this and that point. Thank you for that resonated with me. So you immediately realize, hey, there are people out there taking 5 minutes to read your article, and then maybe an additional 5 minutes to send you a valuable feedback. And that's really something super nice, what is not often happening on other social media platforms. So I really appreciate that exchange, that quality exchange, what it is offering.
Yeah, you know what you said just reminded me of a quote, and it's like people may not remember what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Bunch of photos flashing by in seconds, click, 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 click. They're not going to remember that. I mean, maybe if you see another another Q train, you're going to remember that. But if they take the time to read an article and it makes them think and feel something, they're going to remember it.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you're doing it.
So you
So,
struggle with posting on a regular basis articles.
well, not really, because we crank out a magazine every month, and that takes a lot of
Yeah,
time and effort and energy. So I don't have much left for my own thoughts, to be honest. You know,
I think you're
but
already
I
doing a
love
lot.
doing this. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead. I
No,
interrupted you. What'd you say?
no, I think you're already doing a lot. So
We
I don't.
are.
You need another platform to.
No, no, it's just another way to
Yeah.
distribute what we're doing. But I've got my own things I think about too. And if you notice, I've only written a couple articles in almost 13 years because it's all about the other. It's about the community. It's not about me. And so I don't want to make the magazine about me. We'd go broke if we did that. But yeah, it does. It just takes a lot of energy. And
Mhm.
I still photograph regularly so I thought maybe I should do my own thing on there. And we were talking about Tomash from Fuji Love and Frames, and he does a lot of really cool stuff on there and with videos. And I think, where's he get the time for this? But he's very inspirational. I hope you're listening to me. That's right. I'm talking to you, Tomash. There we go. That's how I say his name. I don't know how you say it properly, but good guy. So anyway, what's next for you? What can we expect from you?
Good question. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of shooting, being out as much as I can, and collecting as much as I can, walking as much as I can,
Yeah.
throwing out some articles on Substack, whatever comes to my mind. Here and there, maybe a picture on my other social media account or on my website. But other than that, I mean, of course, there is maybe one day the vision of having an own book or an exhibition or whatever. But I'm a strong believer of there needs to be a certain body of work, a certain quality, a certain amount of
Sure.
really good pictures, and that needs time. So definitely nothing in the next couple of years, but hopefully somewhere in the future. Let's see. Still a lot of work to do.
It is a lot. Yeah, good. I look forward to it when you do.
Mm.
Well, thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Appreciate your patience and look forward to more interesting articles in your Substack and in your photography world.
Thanks, Bob, to you. Thanks. Appreciate it very much being able to be here today, and it was a lot of fun.